The 1970s were jam-packed with ups and downs that made the 1970s, well, the 70s. The stereotypical trends established the aesthetic of the decade, but it was the details that make it unique.
Yo, here's this guy here, like, people be talking about
that UPC codes went into use, and they have since become the primary way for cashiers to ring you up at the checkout. Not only did this revolutionize the way stores cataloged and tracked merchandise, but it also sped up checkout times for customers eventually, because UPC scanners did not become widespread until the 1980s.
That is something that I'm only just deep in. Imagine life before, like, being able to scan things with a barcode. Alright guys, your fellow Gen Z Brit very curious man is going to be checking out forgotten details that made the 1970s unique. This is coming from the Recollection Road channel, a channel that I'm very familiar with on this channel now. I've done quite a few videos from them, and every time I deep dive into these rabbit holes, man, it's just, I always feel like I always learn something new, man. Also, like, I'm doing movie reactions on my Patreon. I recently reacted to The Breakfast Club, a 1980s movie, popular one. Just give me an insight into some of the clicks during that time, as well as Princess Purple Rain movie. I'm also doing some album reviews as well, so some of them being the Princess Purple Rain album and his Sign of the Times album, and I'm also doing some 1980s sitcoms. At the moment I'm on season 1 of Married with Children, so if any of you guys are interested in getting that exclusive bonus content, that's where you're gonna be getting a lot of the juicy content that I cannot post on YouTube. Link to that will be in the description, guys. Of course, with that being said, let's get straight into the video. Let's go.
The 1970s were jam-packed with ups and downs that made the 1970s, well, the 70s. The stereotypical trends established the aesthetic of the decade, but it was the details that make it unique.
Yo, here's this guy here, like, people be talking about what people be wearing nowadays, but I didn't know people be wearing shorts like that back in the day in the 1970s, man. Ay, that's someone's dad, man. That's someone's dad. And these are some interesting pics.
The products, the experiences, and the people are actually what we remember the most. So let's take a look back at some of the more obscure things that happened that you probably forgot about in the 1970s.
Back when people actually went outside to have fun. Or kids at least.
Carpet in the 1970s was long and shaggy. This meant that small toys and other things could get lost in the shag. A shag carpet rake was often used to clear any objects from the rug before it was vacuumed. And it also might have saved you from stepping on small objects that were lost in the carpet. You could also use the plastic rake to style the long fibers to cover up any footprints and make it feel more tidy. This is one of those things that has never completely gone away and can still be purchased to this day.
To this day, okay. That's an interesting one, man. Shag carpet rug. I mean,
Walt Disney World opened its doors on October 1st, 1971. It was the world's largest theme park and cost an estimated $400 million to build. Disney World proved that theme parks could also be vacation destinations, and they set on proving that by continuing to build around the Magic Kingdom new theme parks, resorts, golf courses, and shopping destinations that kept you under the magic bubble of Disney.
Disney was a 1970s thing, okay.
Rediscover your past by digitizing your family's memories with Legacy Box. Watch until the end of this video to find out more about preserving your legacy, and then visit legacybox.com/recollection. In the early 1970s, the Ford Motor Company was rushing to build a subcompact car to compete with foreign imports. And in 1971, the Ford Pinto was what they came up with. The only problem, though, was it had a fuel tank that wasn't fully protected from rear impacts, which caused it to catch fire even at low speeds. After more than 20 people had been killed and even more injured, the Ford Pinto was recalled in 1978 and would later be discontinued by 1980.
Oh, see, I saw a lot of these Pinto cars, man. I feel like from some of the flashback videos I've been checking out, and I heard that these cars be blowing up easily, man, or easily catching fire. These Pinto cars. Oh, wow. Ford Pinto, that's what it's called. Interesting, man. And that car, the shape of it looked so different to the cars that I'm used to seeing.
In 1978, and would later be discontinued by 1980. On November 8th, 1972, the very first subscription-based cable channel was born. Home Box Office, or HBO, offered for the first time commercial-free and uncut movies, which the name implied. But the very first broadcast that went out to the first 365 subscribers of the channel was actually a hockey game between the New York Rangers and the Vancouver Canucks. Following the game, the very first movie aired, which was sometimes a great notion, starring Paul Newman and Henry Fonda. You're probably wondering how much it cost for HBO back in 1972.
Right.
Well, it was $6 per month.
Yeah, that can't be adjusted for inflation. It can't be, right?
PBS became the first network to air a reality show in 1973. An American Family profiled the Loud family with an intimate look at the parents and their 5 children, who ranged in age from 14 to 20. It attracted an audience of millions when it premiered, and the topics shocked audiences as their lives played out on TV. From getting divorced to their oldest son coming out as gay, the show offered something viewers had never seen before on TV.
Okay, I can imagine that being a shock. Interesting.
In June of 1974, a pack of Wrigley's Juicy Fruit bubblegum was the very first product to be scanned using a barcode, called the Universal Product Code. It was at a supermarket in Troy, Ohio, that UPC codes went into use, and they have since become the primary way for cashiers to ring you up at the checkout. Not only did this revolutionize the way stores cataloged and tracked merchandise, but it also sped up checkout times for customers eventually, because UPC scanners did not become widespread until the 1980s.
That is something that I'm only just deep in. Imagine life before, like, being able to scan things with a barcode, like shopping and stuff. Wow. So what, would you have to just like calculate, or the price probably would have been on the thing, right? And then you have to just do the maths when someone gave you cash. You probably have to actually be decent at maths to be a cashier back in the day. Obviously now you could just like type things in a calculator or just do things through Apple Pay and it's just all automated. But okay, yeah, I didn't really think about it like that, but that's interesting. 1970s barcode.
Following the success of the 1975 summer blockbuster Jaws, it was inevitable that a sequel was on tap. Jaws 2 returned most of the original cast and followed the formula that the original had laid out, but director Steven Spielberg did not return. The famous tagline, "Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water," was the best ad campaign a sequel could ask for. But because the mystery of the shark had been revealed at the end of the first movie, Part 2 didn't have the same fear factor that made the original so good. Despite this, it still performed well at the box office and was a cash cow when it came to merchandising. Did you ever have a set of the Jaws 2 trading cards?
They had trading cards for it. Guys, if you want to check out Jaws, which I haven't, like, I don't remember seeing, I've seen like clips of it, but not the full entire movie. But if you want me to check out like some 1980s Jaws, the original one, then let me know. I'll see what I can do. But yeah, this one is a movie that apparently a lot of you guys watched when you were really young. So, you know, that because PG rated stuff, like, and all those ratings weren't like a thing back then. So again, man, it just blows my mind to kind of conceptualize how things used to be. And I'm hearing it.
In 1975, at the Country Music Awards, controversy rocked the world of country music. Charlie Rich, the previous year's Entertainer of the Year, was the presenter, and when he saw who had won Entertainer of the Year for 1975, Charlie Rich pulled out his lighter and lit the thing on fire.
Wow.
John Denver was the one who won, but with the increasing influence of pop and country music, Rich decided to make a statement before announcing the winner. The camera then cut to John Denver, who accepted via satellite and had no idea what had just happened.
Okay.
In December of 1975, the United States passed legislation meant to convert the country over to the metric system, with President Ford signing it into law just before Christmas. With the rest of the world using millimeters and grams for various measurements, Congress thought it made sense for the U.S. to get on board too. The only problem was that they used the word voluntary when writing the law, therefore it never quite caught on. Although some technical fields related to science, technology, and medicine have implemented it, as they serve a more global market.
Okay, yeah, no wonder why, because a lot of American stuff is still like in miles and like degrees Fahrenheit and stuff like that. Interesting. In the UK, obviously, we do centimeters and stuff, so Centimeters, meters.
In
liters.
April of 1977, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak released what would become a pivotal piece of computer history with the Apple II. This computer was the very first to be completely encased in plastic and could just be plugged in to use. It was also the very first to have color and sound, which had been influenced by Wozniak's time working on Atari games. The Apple II also introduced us to the word spreadsheet as a form of software. Although the Apple II added many new features to what a computer could be, they weren't flying off the shelves. It was merely a start to what Apple would achieve in the 1980s.
The 1970s, like, we were getting like just the sparks of a lot of the technological things that just started to revolutionize the 80s, 90s, and so on and so forth, which is interesting, man.
Following the success of Pong in the US, Space Invaders was released in 1978. The arcade-style game was distributed to bowling alleys, skating rinks, and arcades, where it enticed players to stop descending aliens from invading Earth. Getting your name on the leaderboard was what you obsessed over, and the game was thrilling enough that its popularity spread. The arcade game became heavily imitated, and ultimately, it helped to grow the video game industry, and it all started in the 1970s.
Wow, again, the 1970s where a lot of these things are starting.
During this decade, working out and staying in shape became an obsession too. The 1970s saw in-home workout equipment take off. Not only were people buying stationary bikes, but they also bought
gym wear at this day and age is so different, man. It's interesting. It's colorful. It's not as, I feel like, are these supposed to be like tracksuits? Like these got like flared bottoms on it, like kind of like bell bottom jeans and stuff. Like that's it. This is just an interesting design.
Workout equipment take off. Not only were people buying stationary bikes, but they also bought glide-o-matics, hydraulic rowers, and free weights. Long metal springs were often used to provide resistance in smaller handheld exercise equipment, and many of these devices were made popular through television advertisements and celebrity endorsements. This led to jazzercise classes and later home video workout franchises by the likes of Jane Fonda, Raquel Welch, and Suzanne Summers that dominated the 1980s.
I can imagine.
Donnie Osmond was a teen idol during the 1970s, and one of the most memorable aspects of his performances were his purple socks. There was a bit of mystery as to why he always wore them, but the answer is pretty simple. His mother assigned colors to all of her children because there were so many of them, making it easier to identify them. Purple was Donnie's color, and he wore the socks when he performed, and teenage girls picked up on it. They too began wearing purple to all of his shows, and as he performed, he would see nothing but a sea of purple.
I would have thought he was Prince, man. Yo, okay, Donnie, I've never heard of this Donnie guy before, but he seemed like he was a popular one with the ladies.
And as he performed, he would see nothing but a sea of purple.
Interesting.
Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and make sure to sign up for the Recollection Road newsletter using the link in the description.
Yo, shout out to Recollection Road again, man. Look, to this day, I'm figuring out things that I just didn't really know. Like Disney World being like 1971. Okay, I would have thought it was a lot earlier than that, but it kind of makes sense. HBO, PBS, like UPC, the Barcode, or Jaws. Like there's a lot of these things. I think the overall gist I'm getting from it is like the 1970s just definitely seem to be like the turning point, or the start of the turning point for the 1980s to kind of really implement these things that will kind of sparked in the 1970s, like the transition, like when you start to see that transition into the more digital stuff that came on more, and then eventually the internet in the 1990s. This is like putting the timeline together is mad. This deep dive is getting deeper and deeper, and I feel like I'm starting to understand things a lot better than when I clearly first started this journey. And what a journey has been so far, guys. Like, let me know if any of you guys have been watching me since I first started these kinds of videos, man. You'll know how much progress I've made. Even if it's a little bit, you know, it's still something, right? You know, but yeah, guys, let me know what you thought about this video. Did you guys also agree what was said? Was anything that was missed out? I feel like a lot of people talk about the 1980s, but I don't hear as much about the 1970s compared to 1980s. So let me know if you guys have any key memories that you guys want to share. I always love seeing what you guys have to say down below. And of course, look, if you made this point, let's comment down some purple hearts or hashtag flex for those guys that are still struggling with emojis. And you guys know, as I always said in every video, I love all you guys that watch it through to the end. You guys don't know how much supporting me, more than you know. Of course, look, like the video if you haven't already before you head on out, and consider checking out some more videos that I have at the end of the video that relate to this in a playlist that I'll link at the end. And of course, guys, I've been your boy JayFlex. This has been Forgotten Details that made the 1970s unique. And for those guys made to this point, you guys have been absolutely wonderful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.